Before taking any action, check that the generator has been positioned on the ground correctly. The generator should be placed in a stable manner on a level, hardened surface. Start by identifying the generator. The rating plate attached to the housing contains data identifying the device, manufacturer, serial number, name and code of the device, and its nominal data. The device documentation is located in the electrical box. Before using the generator, remove the documentation and put it in a safe place. For everyday use, you will need the operator guide. The General Instruction Manual is a document that contains basic information about the power generator, in particular the safety instructions. Before starting to work with the generator, every user must read and understand this information. The documentation also includes the manufacturer's declaration of conformity and a CD with detailed instructions for the engine and alternator. These will be useful for proper maintenance of the generator. A pictogram placed just over the HMI reminds you of the basic recommendations each time you turn on the generator. Exercise extreme caution. Warning: electrical device. Ground the generator before use. Never use water to extinguish a fire. Read the instructions before use. Also, pay attention to information about the engine oil and coolant used. This information is also required for technicians performing maintenance on the machine. Now let's move on to the steps you should take every time you prepare your generator for operation after a long standstill period. Remember, this video does not release you from the obligation to read and understand the recommendations contained in the user manual and to follow the guidelines contained therein. Check if the oil level is correct. Verify if the radiator is filled with coolant. Check for any signs of fluid leaks under the engine or in the retention tray. The generator is delivered with a charged battery. The battery has its negative terminal disconnected for transport purposes. It also should be disconnected if you do not intend to use the generator for a few days. Before use, connect the clamp to the battery terminal. The generator is now ready to test the control system. The operation of the controller is described in detail in the attached operator guide. After turning on the controller, check the menu language. Make appropriate changes if necessary. Check the operation of the safety button. To do this, with the generator turned off, turn on the main switch and then press the emergency button. The main switch should trip automatically. At the same time, the controller will indicate the emergency stop button activation by an audible signal and a red light on the controller. Press the button to turn off the audible signal. Check the fault list screen on the controller. Information about the charger having no power and about the safety button being activated is displayed here. An alarm is active as long as its cause persists. Pull out the emergency stop button. And then use the clear fault button to remove it from the list of active alarms. The generator is tested for safety. Let's move on to the electrical connections. Be aware of the risks created by electricity. Any work in this area may only be performed by trained persons with appropriate authorizations. The power takeoff cable should be fed into the generator through a dedicated entry in the housing and connected directly to the generator main switch. If the generator is to be used in standby mode, in order to maintain its readiness to automatically switch on and accept the load, it is necessary to supply the engine's heater and battery charger. Connect the power cable to the prepared screw connectors. After connecting the cable, check the operation of the heater and battery charger. The absolutely basic condition for the safe use of the machine is the grounding of the generator. The pictogram above the controller reminds you of this. Check that the generator is properly grounded. To do this, unscrew the generator cable entry cover, which provides access to the generator's main grounding connection. Make sure the power takeoff cable is connected correctly. Pull. Pay attention to the direction of rotation. The first phase of the receiver should be connected first from the left, then the second, and finally the third. The unit prepared in this way is ready for operation. Now it can be started. When operating the generator manually, switch the controller to MAN mode. Remember that in this mode, the main switch will always be turned off when starting and stopping the generator, in order to protect the alternator. Then verify that the fuel tank is full. If the level is low, top up with fuel. Also, check whether the controller is reporting any active alarms or warnings. The diesel engine is equipped with a hand pump. If you hear that the engine has a problem drawing fuel during cranking, i.e., the engine does not start despite the operation of the starter motor, pump in the fuel manually by pressing the pump until you feel strong resistance on the pump piston. Press the generator start button. The controller will perform the engine starting sequence with the main switch turned off. When the generator reaches the nominal parameters, the green generator operation icon on the controller will light up. Check the voltage measurements on the controller. Then, wait about 2 to 3 minutes, monitoring the engine temperature while idling. The generator is ready to load when the engine temperature reaches 50 degrees Celsius. Turn on the load by lifting the generator main switch lever. After switching on the load, monitor the electrical parameters: load power, voltage, current and frequency. Remember that too low load, below 30%, leads to faster engine wear. After just a few dozen hours of operation, the exhaust gases may become darker. Oil leaks may occur, and unburned fuel settling as soot on the exhaust and engine components may cause ignition or damage to, for example, the turbine. To stop the generator, first disconnect the load. You can do this by pressing the button on the controller. Then press the stop button once. The safety switch must not be used to stop the generator except in emergency situations. This prevents the generator engine from cooling down, which significantly shortens its service life. The generator has entered cooling mode, as indicated by a message on the display. After 2 minutes, the engine will stop automatically. If you do not plan to use the generator in the next few days and its own power supply is not connected, disconnect the battery after turning off the engine. This will protect it from draining. If the battery is not disconnected in MAN mode, after 10 minutes the controller switches to zero power mode, i.e. minimum power consumption. The display is off and inactive. To activate the controller, which is in standby mode, press the start button. This will not start the generator, but only start the controller.